So welcome to Lithuania.
Thank you very much.
Since when we haven't seen you in our country?
My memory's so bad these days, but I think at least 4 or 5 years, and it's good to be back.
Yeah, nice. So it's summertime in Chile, I guess.
Certainly is. It's 30, 35 degrees Celsius.
So what is the everyday life now in Chile? What people are doing? Is it harvest time already? Or?
Yeah, right now we are harvest 2023 is underway. We received the first grapes last Saturday. So we received some Chardonnay from the north of Chile, up in the Limari Valley. And also we started harvesting our Sauvignon Blanc in our organic estate in Isla de Maipo, in the Maipo Valley. So it's all hands on deck and looking forward to a good harvest.
Yeah, so we know Chile is a really very long country, and it's very typical that wineries in Chile own vineyards in different areas.
Yes, yeah. It's maybe if they don't own them, then they will purchase grapes from growers, from producers. But at De Martino, we have our family HQ, as it were, is in Maipo Valley. So we're in the heart of the Maipo Valley. And then, so we have 250 hectares in Maipo. And then we have a small 20-hectare plot in the south of Chile, in Itata, where we get our Sansó, our Muscat, our País.
Is it the most southern region of Chile, or still there is something further?
There's things happening further south. I think with climate change and everything that's going on at the moment, people are actually moving further south in Chile because, as you well know, in the middle part of Chile, in our sort of central valley, it's very sort of mild, it's Mediterranean climate. And we've had a drought for the last 10 or 12 years, a lot less rain. So we're being forced to move a bit further south. So we go down to Hitata, Biobío, Malleco, which may be some names that you know. Yeah. And there's even a few experiments, even way down south in Patagonia. In fact, De Martino has a project there, but I have to, keep quiet for the time being. It's a new project that's coming soon.
So, speaking about those different areas, so each of them, they are specialized in different grapes?
Yep, that's the idea. So Itata is fantastic because this is like a real sort of Chile's, it's like a national treasure. It's where the first vines were planted in Chile in the middle of the 16th century in 1551, according to records. So there we are focusing very much on old vines, Sansó, Muscat, País, and we have some old San Francisco, which is another variety, and we're finding out exactly what they are. If you go down to Biobío, there's some good Chardonnay and Pinot Noir, and the same for Malleco. So there's cooler climates for Chardonnay and Pinot Noir.
And so we know Chardonnay, Pinot Noir is linked, but País, is it with this Lambrusca, American grape variety?
País was the first variety that was planted in South America. So the Spaniards came over from Spain. They set sail from Cadiz in the middle of the 16th century to come and discover the Americas. And they stopped off in Tenerife, in the Canary Islands, and they picked up some vines from there. So it's what we believe is Listan Prieto, Meno and Listan Prieto. So they brought these vines over to South America. And we know it as País in Chile. In Argentina, they call it Criolla Chica, if I'm not mistaken. And in California, they call it Mission. So it's one and the same, but in Chile, we call it País, but it has its roots in Europe, in the Canary Islands.
So it is vinifera.
It is vinifera, and it's quite a rustic variety, and I guess a bit like sort of Sansó or Carignan. It's been very sort of low profile up until recently, but De Martino, being the pioneers and the innovators that we are, we sort of rediscovered it about 11 or 12 years ago now, and we're really trying to bring it up to a new level and show people that it's capable of making some top quality wine.
Okay, so what was the main feature of De Martino family philosophy which makes it different from other wineries in Chile?
Yeah, it's, we've always been sort of on the cutting edge of trying to deliver new styles, really make sure we've got the right varieties. I guess this all started back in the late 1990s when Chile was just making good everyday drinking wine, cheap and cheerful wines in the supermarkets and everything. And at De Martino, we decided that if we want to be different, if we want to be better than the rest, we have to really make sure that we've got the right varieties in the right soils. So it sounds simple and crazy, but back then in Chile, no one was doing that. So we started that way. So we discovered new areas like Limari up in the north, where we're producing our Chardonnay and Pinot Noir. We started bringing in our Sauvignon Blanc from Casablanca. We discovered these older vines down south. And we really started developing or making sure that we got the right varieties in our own family estate, Maipel Valley, where we're focusing very much on the Bordeaux varieties. So Cabernet Sauvignon, Carmenère, of course, Malbecs, and Petit Verdot. And then in 2011, we had a radical, let's say 180-degree change of style in De Martino, because we realized that up until then we were making wines for the market. We weren't making wines that we actually enjoyed drinking, which again sounds a bit crazy, but I guess it's a commercial enterprise, and we were making wines for Mr. Parker and the North American market with lots of new oak and overripe, over-extracted wines. So in 2011, we started focusing much more on the vineyard, so picking earlier, looking for fresher style of wine, lower alcohol. We started doing all our alcoholic fermentations with native wild yeasts. So all De Martino wines now are produced with native yeast alcoholic fermentation. And we also eliminated all new oak. So since 2011, we've been buying no more new oak. We did one last purchase. We brought in some those large oak casks, the Fudres from Stockinger in Austria, which is where we make our high-end, the single vineyards in the Old Vine series. And apart from that, we just use the old, used French barriques for the rest of the range. So it was a real radical change for Chile. So a fresher style of wine, more drinkability, looking for wines with more elegance and more finesse, which is not normally associated with Chile.
How this happened? Who was initiating that?
This was our winemaker at the time, Marcelo, with the family. We were sitting around having lunch, and in fact it was Giorgio De Martino, who was the second generation De Martino, very Italiano, and he literally said, he said, who enjoys drinking this shit? He said, excuse my French. And he's quite an imposing character, and everyone looked at him and said, God, yeah, no, this is true. Who actually enjoys drinking this? So from that lunch with the family and the winemaker, and we realized that we weren't making wines as we used to make at the beginning of the 1990s, the middle of the 1990s. So we decided to go back to the good old days and make wines in that fresher, more drinkable style. So I can't remember the exact date and what year, but it was about 12 or 13 years ago now.
But that's what world is living now. That's absolutely good move.
Exactly.
I remember that one of brothers, De Martino, and Stefano, but other one started to study Master of Wine. So
yeah.
I guess it went to the modern way, opened eyes, how things are changing, and that's why we like to have in portfolio.
Yeah.
When in that sommelier school we are taking samples of different let's say countries or styles.
Mm-hmm.
I remember when I was trying to take something like New World oaky style wine, and I was thinking, well, maybe De Martino might be a good example. And there is no oak at all.
Yeah,
That's amazing, expensive, good wine. So it's really expression of terroir rather than.
That's exactly what we're trying to do, Arūnas. And I always say if you put De Martino wines in a blind tasting these days, it's very few people I think would identify them as being Chilean wines and would put them in Chile. So it's not that we're not trying to be European, we're not trying to be French. We're really trying to develop our own De Martino house style and our interpretation of the vineyards we have there in Maipo and in Itata, the small single vineyards we have in the Cachapoal Valley. and really produce wines with identity, with character, with personality. So that's the Martino.
So this year you're going to produce good wines, good quantities. What the situation? You said that it's a drought in the Central Valley.
There's been a drought. Yeah, we still have water. We have underground wells. So in Maipo Valley, we're allowed to irrigate, and we have drip irrigation on the vines. Further south in Itata, it's all dry farmed, old vines. We're just depending on rain from the heavens. But yeah, no, it's still a bit early to say whether we'll be having a fantastic vintage or not. But so far so good, especially in Maipo. It's actually been very hot summer. So we're actually harvesting slightly earlier this year. And I don't know if you were aware, I think you were aware because you sent me a very kind email asking about the wildfires in Itata. So down south in Itata, we had some terrible wildfires. We were actually amazingly saved. Our vineyard, our 20-hectare vineyard was saved, but we had fire all around and some of our neighbors lost everything. So terrible, but we've just sent away some samples to the lab to see what the smoke taint issue is going to be like. So it's still too early. We may not have a vintage in Itata in 2023, unfortunately, because of the wildfires. But the rest of the country is looking good so far, but still early days.
Yeah, that's I think what the market has to start thinking and to accept maybe this smoke taint wines, because it happens everywhere now, and taste does not change so much. You get some additional notes, which you could recognize as a vintage signature. Theoretically, this is the point.
Yeah, we tasted in another market recently on this trip some Sansor from our Itata series, the 2018. Which again we had wildfires then, and you could taste a little bit of smoke there. It's faint, but it's present, and it's part of the vintage variation, if you want to call it that. It's not necessarily a positive trait, but it is what it is. So it's still too early to say this yet.
Okay, so what is the trend? Where the winery is moving now? What kind of new products are you creating? Maybe sparkling wine?
Yeah, sparkling, no. We've had enough requests, but no, I think we feel that we want to focus on still wines. That's our specialty. We have no expertise with sparkling wine, and I think we'll keep it that way. Unfortunately, well, for good or for bad. There's plenty of other good wines out there to drink, so we'll focus on what we're good at. I guess the big novelty is the bottle I've just brought over to Lithuania to share with you guys. Brand new high-end wine called Cuvée. It's the 2020 vintage, and it's really the culmination of over 10 years work. It's a Bordeaux blend from our Isla de Maipo family estate. So it's predominantly Cabernet Sauvignon with some Malbec and Petit Verdot. I guess you could also say it's the culmination of 4 generations of the Martino family winemaking. So it's, we're very happy with the results, and we'll hopefully taste it with you soon and see if we can get a few bottles into the Lithuanian market. And then I guess another novelty is the De Martino brothers had a little project there, personal project, with a new range of wines called Ungrafted, which I don't think I've talked to you about yet. Something a bit different. It's their interpretation. So Sebastian and Marco Antonio, the 4th generation. So it's their interpretation of what they feel is the best from Maipo and the best from Itata. So it's a Cabernet and a Carmenère from Maipo, a Sansor and a Muscat from Itata, and we just added a Semillon Sauvignon from the Maipo Valley estate. So it's called Ungrafted. The labels are not your typical De Martino labels, which are very traditional and quite conservative. So maybe something for the younger generations. It's a fresh style. So we've got some novelties.
So is it because we are happy that you have some ones made in amphoras, in tinajas, which also sounds a bit familiar. The same grape varieties and stylistically also no oak, fresh mineral.
No oak at all. Just fermented and aged in these beautiful old terracotta amphora that are 150 200 years old, the original amphora. And yeah, I guess very much in the spirit of De Martino's pioneering and innovative styles. So I guess ironic, because we're going back to how our ancestors used to make wines, but it's...
Okay, so tell about this tenajas. So is it, well, everybody is doing that? Are you the only winery which is using those vessels?
Yeah, no, good question. I mean, we were the first of this, let's say, the new wave. So back in 2011 is when we started making wines in the tinajas. And I wouldn't say everyone is doing it. No, not at all. I mean, it's quite a specific way of winemaking. You've really got to be on the ball. You've got to be very, very focused on what you're doing. There's a couple of other people who are making wines in tinajas, but it's not mainstream at all. I'd say some of the smaller, more the sort of independent vintners are going down a little bit down that road as well. But I mean, it's just fantastic to see because I think people's perception of Chile is very much Cabernet Sauvignon, Merlot, Sauvignon Blanc, Chardonnay, oak, cheap wines you find in the supermarket, but there's a lot of exciting things happening in Chile at the moment. And yeah, I'm happy to say that De Martino's there really pushing the boundaries and I guess opening new frontiers there for styles and of course quality. So
okay, so the Chile, which direction it is moving, you said that there is some new things, what is happening, but structure of the wine business in Chile, is it very much concentrated? It used to be a few very large groups which owns a lot of...
And it's still like that. It's still like that, yeah. There's, the big guys by far are Conchitoro. Just to give you a small idea, Chile exports around 54 million 9-liter cases around the world. And Conchitoro would account for approximately 18 million. Conchitoro, Conosur, Emiliana. And then you've got San Pedro, you've got Santa Carolina, Santa Rita. You've got, I'd say, the top 5 largest producers probably account for 70-75% of Chile's production. And then you have family-owned wineries like ourselves, who are small to medium-sized, who make up quite an amount. But the latest sort of boom, I guess you'd say, has been these smaller, more sort of independent vintners who are just making a few thousand bottles, a few thousand cases, and some examples, and really just trying to show, I guess, Chile's B-side. I guess a bit more sort of natural winemaking, if you want to call it that, but working with new varieties and just new styles. So it's exciting.
So are they exported as well, or?
Some are, but most of these guys are trying to export, but it's a tough market out there. It's very competitive, but a lot of them are just, or their main market is the domestic market.
So, so if people want to come to Chile to visit, what is the best time to come? You think if they like wine as well, so
yeah,
is it better during harvest before?
I always recommend March. March is a good month. Because it's still nice and warm. We're moving into autumn, of course, but harvest is in full flow. So if you want to come and see things firsthand, March is very nice. November is also a good month as well, if you can escape before Christmas, because it's springtime. There's obviously not as much activity in the vineyards, but the vines are flourishing and getting ready for the harvest. And again, it's not too hot. January, February, are good months if you like a bit more extreme heat, 30-35 degrees Celsius, and you want to go and travel around and sit on the beach. But I think for me, March is a good month. Yeah.
And do we have many tourists? What kind of Chile is? Is it like a big destination for people?
I wouldn't say we're a big destination. It's quite specific. A lot of people who come, I guess most people, if they come to Chile, they'll come and they'll visit a winery, but they don't come just to visit. They come to visit our beautiful national parks in the north. We have the Atacama Desert in the north of Chile, the driest desert in the world. Down south we have Patagonia, we have the Antarctic, and we have some beautiful national parks. So people come for trekking and horseback riding up in the Andes Mountains, fly fishing down in the south. So it's quite a sort of outdoor life. I guess some people might come to go and see Easter Island, which is very unique.
How long is the flight from Chile?
It's about 4 or 5 hours.
Okay.
I think it's the most remote place on earth, something like that, or inhabited place on earth. So, yeah, no, it's and as you well know, as you said, Chile is this long, thin country, so it's quite difficult to get around because the distance is it's a 2 or 3 hour flight north, a 2 or 3 hour flight south to go to the more touristy destinations. And Chile's very concentrated, very centralized in Santiago around there, but de Martino, we're about an hour's drive southwest of Santiago, so we're open to tourists. It's not our major focus, but if people want to come and visit us, then they're always very welcome.
So that's if people want to visit wineries, you don't need to make an advance arrangements. It's usually there is a place to greet guests.
Yeah, there is. If you arrive at the front door, we won't turn you away. We do recommend that people get in touch with us, and it's sort of by appointment only. But if people come and make the trip out to see us, then we're not going to turn them away. So it would be fantastic if we can have. I don't remember anyone from Lithuania coming to visit. So an invitation to everyone to come and visit us in Chile. I always say it's a long way to go, but it's worth it when you get there.